All right, welcome back, everybody. We're just getting major breaking news into our newsroom just here within the last 30 seconds. President Joe Biden issuing brand new pardons before he leaves office today. That includes General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and congresspeople who investigated the January 6th Capitol attack. I want to read part of this statement that he just issued. He said this: the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Our nation owes these public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment to our country. We have NewsNation's Joe Khalil live from the Capitol this morning on this. I mean, Joe, this just coming down within the last few seconds here. Talk about the significance of this moment, and were we expecting this to happen today?
Yeah, this is a major deal. And literally in the last few hours that Joe Biden has this authority at all, he is now issuing these pardons to, as you mentioned, General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, several members of Congress who served on the January 6th committee, and police officers who were part of the U.S. Capitol Police Force that actually testified during those hearings. Now, the reason that President Biden is giving for issuing these pardons is there has been a lot of chatter among people that are very close to President-elect Trump that Donald Trump might try in some way to prosecute many of those people. Now, Donald Trump has been asked directly whether he is going to do that. He has basically said in the last few weeks that he would not direct anybody, whether it be his next attorney general or others, to prosecute or to go after legally any of these people. But he has said generally also he thinks that some of those people on the January 6th committee, for example, should go to jail. That was an exact quote from President-elect Trump, saying he's not going to exert pressure in order for that to happen. So you've got questions to people like Pam Bondi, who may be the next attorney general. She's Donald Trump's choice. She just had her hearing a couple of days ago, last week, and she was asked several times whether she would actually prosecute those people. She said that she would have to take a look. She was not committing one way or another. So it seems like that kind of thing, the fact that there was speculation around that at all, is the reason that President Biden today said he's not taking any chances, and that these pardons, you read the key part, Markey, should not be read or construed as any sort of guilt or wrongdoing by these people. Now, interestingly, we've heard from several of the people who are now receiving pardons, people like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and others, who publicly said they did not want a pardon from Joe Biden. They were asked directly and said they don't need it because they didn't feel like they've done anything wrong. Nonetheless, it seems like this seems to be a preemptive measure now by Joe Biden to give them some kind of immunity. This is going to be, I think, controversial. I think it's going to land that way among the public. I think if there were people who, were close to Donald Trump or others who felt that there was some kind of guilt among these people, I imagine, and this is new, so we're not seeing this yet, but I imagine they're going to see this as some kind of evidence of guilt, of wrongdoing in some way. So we'll see how this lands generally, but this is remarkable that, again, we're talking about just a few hours left in Joe Biden's presidency, literally, and he has made this decisive move here to offer a measure of protection for all of those people. Again, General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, members who served on the January 6th committee, and also the Capitol police officers who testified in front of the committee and brought forth, what was at the time really seen as damning evidence in all of that work. So this is just, we're in a moment in our history, Markey, where there has been a lot that we've said is unprecedented. Go ahead and add this moment here to that column as well.
That list. Yeah, 4.5 hours left in Biden's presidency. Let me just list off this full list of Congress members, too. Benny Thompson, Zoe Lofgren, Adam Schiff, Pete Aguilar, Stephanie Murphy, Jamie Raskin, Elaine Luria, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger.